Hey everybody, welcome to episode 29 of Duke's Download. I usually don't do these in the morning, so if I look a little puffy, that's why. But I am so excited to have one of my favorite people, literally, out there, Jake Shears, as our guest today. I think he just sent me a request. Oh no, that's someone else. So let's see till he comes on. But yeah, no, I love Jake so much. He's such a sweet guy and quite a musician. And let me see if he's on yet. 1 second. Probably in a minute. Let's give it a second. But yeah, everybody, thank you so much. I can't believe we're at almost 30 episodes of Duke's Download. It's been really fun, and it's just, I really appreciate the support. It's just started as an idea, and thanks to all the support you guys have given me, we're now 30 episodes in. Oh, Jesus. Okay, hold on. Let's see if he's on yet. Jake Shears. He is not on yet, but he will be in a moment. But yeah, Jake has a new book that he wrote not too long ago. He has a new album that I'm really excited to talk about. Obviously I just love the fact that he's been such a boundary pusher throughout his life. And I remember, oh, here he is. He just says Jake Shears joined. So, hey there.
Hi,
How
how
are
are
you?
you? Good,
You
thank
look
you. It's
so
good.
I was going to say, you look so good. I'm sorry. It's 2 hours earlier in LA, so I look a little puffy, but
No, 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 no. Come on now. Come on now. You look great. You look, it's been so long. I feel like I haven't seen you in, it has to have been like, I don't know,
yeah,
a few years, 4 or 5 years.
I think maybe even longer than that. I think maybe the last time I saw you was, you were so sweet to come to, when I ran for city council in WeHo, you came to my event, which was so sweet.
It was really fun. Yeah, it was such a good time.
And I
But
remember you invited me to a party at your house, probably going on 7 years ago, when I was
uh-oh.
21 at the time, and now I'm old now. I'm almost 30, so it's been quite a decade. But you know,
Yeah. And there were
but
some parties back then, back in LA.
there were.
I miss
But so
them.
but so wait, how long have you been in New Orleans then? Now.
I've been in New Orleans for 5 years, like part time. Like some of the years, like I was here like a third of the time, half the time. And then last Mardi Gras, I just sort of decided sort of be here, to a greater extent and to base myself out of here. So I had a little condo here for quite a while, and then so I just got a house which I just finished, and yeah, I'm fully based out of here. But I am missing LA terribly. So I'm definitely going to be once everything sort of goes into the next phase. I'm going to be spending more time again in LA again. You
Hmm.
know,
Well,
I'm
what
going to
is
have to find a boyfriend somewhere. I don't know if it's going to be in New Orleans.
Well, I'm still, I still have never been to New Orleans, which is crazy because I know my mom obviously is, performed at Mardi Gras, and she's, so she's always said how great it was. And, of course, in her pre-sobriety days, she was like, she said she had quite a good time there. So I'm excited to visit, but what has it been like? I'm sure like LA, during COVID, it's been a very different place, you know?
It has been. But I mean, it's just such a magical city. It's such a great city. It's like, it's really sort of been there. There does feel like a rhythm to it these days. And it's been really nice. One of the cool things about it is, the Crescent's got about like 250,000 residents year round. I mean, there's not, it's a small town. So, but there's a million tourists at any given time in the city. So it's an interesting time to be here because there's just really not that many tourists. And so everybody that you see is mostly a local, which is just
Hmm.
not ever the case here. I mean, most people in New Orleans are visiting.
Hmm.
So that's just been kind of cool to just really feel like you're with everybody else who actually lives here, and
Mhm.
it's just sort of a unique moment. But it's great. The city's got like, you know, a rhythm. There's of course no nightlife, but
Mhm.
you know, it's also awesome because in a certain way, like Los Angeles, I mean,
Right.
it's balmy today. You can see me like schwitzing a little bit. Like it's balmy outside, and it's Thanksgiving tomorrow, which I mean
You
I love. I'm
you look
such an
great.
old lady,
You don't look
but I
sweaty or balmy at all. Don't worry.
but no, but I'm the kind of person that, like, you know, as I like to be in warm weather. I like to not have to put on too many clothes, that sort of thing. So it's awesome for that too, and especially with COVID because you can, you know, I've got a big screened in porch outside that's like, you know, you can hang out outside here a lot easier than in other places. So it's a
Mhm.
pretty nice place to be right now, I'd say.
Is it locked? Is it locked down in the sense like are the restaurants and stuff closed at the moment, or are they open again? Because they just reclosed for the second time here in LA. You know.
Yes, yes, that's what I heard. No, things are open at a very small capacity. The city's been really careful and it's done things super slowly, and the numbers have stayed down, especially in Orleans Parish for the most part, except for just the last like few days. Things, of course, are starting
Right.
to kind of blow up again. But
It's
no,
still
there's
warm there at the moment. It's still warm.
but yeah, it's balmy. It's
Oh
like
man,
it's
I know what you
straight
mean.
up balmy. It's like, you know, yeah, no, it's warm out. You could walk out in your underwear and like totally just like hang out outside.
Well, you can do that. I probably wouldn't look quite as good, but
uh
yeah. But no, I was going to ask you. Yeah, I mean, what has life been like for you during this whole time? Because it was so funny. I loved I saw that photo you posted of you in the mask that said "Let's not have a kiki." That was so cute. Was
yeah.
that? Where did that mask come from?
These guys in LA like made them and sent them asked me if I wanted one, and I was like sure, and they sent me a handful of them in the uh in the mail.
So cute.
But it's, you know, it's gone through all sorts of like uh you know, ups and downs this year, and you know, I ended up in Bristol, Virginia for months,
Hmm.
um near
Why
my
were you there?
parents, not
Oh,
with my
with your
parents. I
parents.
got this house for my parents. Um, for that, they've got this horse farm. So I've been trying to get them to move off of the horse farm and into some, my dad is 92 years old. You know, let's get off the horse farm and into like into a house that's a little bit easier. Um, so I ended up like they hadn't moved into the house yet. My boyfriend at the time and I were at my little condo in New Orleans. And I was like, let's go to this house I've got that's just sitting there, that's furnished and everything. It'll give us more space to sort of, you know. So we ended up there for months. We ended up there for months, and that was great. It was so nice to be with him. And then we broke up in July. Which sucked, which was just,
Well, you had a boyfriend for the worst part of COVID, which I mean, being single since March during this whole thing has been quite a interesting experience.
yeah,
So, but you at least
I'm
had a
sure.
boyfriend for a few months of the
I did.
COVID.
I did, but breaking up in the middle of it was just like it was one of the worst experiences. I was just like it was maddening. It was maddening. It really just it sucked. I was so sad. So yeah, I was just and I had some wonderful friends that took me away with them to an amazing place for a month. So
Okay.
I got to go, you know, really sort of uh, recuperate with some sun. And then
Hmm.
by the time came back, I was ready to get back to New Orleans and move into this house. And so, you know, it's been a lot of changes, a lot of transitions. Been trying to, you know, make some music on top of it.
Oh, so I was going to ask you about that. I mean, first of all, I loved your album, and
Thank
it was.
you.
I mean, I love every album you've ever put out, but I mean, your first solo album was spectacular, and I love Meltdown. So I was curious, like because I know Meltdown came out right. Your single came out right before COVID, right?
Yeah.
So, so have you worked? So you've worked on music since March, new stuff.
Um, Yeah, I've been working on music this whole time, and you know, like during kind of when I was at my parents in Bristol, I set up like as soon as we got there, I just got a whole new home studio. Just so I was like, we're gonna be stuck
Wow.
here. I don't have any of my equipment here. I'm just gonna like, if I get 3 good songs out of this, it'll be worth it, So I just got a whole setup. I was, I got some sessions canceled with Kylie, like right at the top of lockdown, which really sucked because I really wanted to write on her new record. So I was just like, also can't sleep with myself unless I actually just take a stab at it and write some songs for it. So I just remotely with like 3 different producers, including like Baby Daddy, like we just like cranked out a bunch of songs for Kylie. One of them almost made it. But I was secretly kind of glad it didn't because I recorded it for myself and I really love it.
You're like, I love Kylie, but I think this would be better for me.
No, I just think it's a great, you know what I mean? I was like, I could really use this for myself if that doesn't work for her. So, but so like, I just like tried to stay creative and just doing stuff like that and, like kind of kept the ball rolling. But I gotta say, I'm just like, I'm really tired of just sitting alone in my in my studio. It's tough. I'm such a collaborator. I love writing with people. I never do anything by myself. So, my inspiration at the moment is running pretty low as far as just working on stuff on my own. However, just last night I sat down and got sucked in for 4 hours and, started like writing some cool stuff. So you never know when that's going to hit.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can imagine, and I can, so I sort of understand. I mean, obviously, again, my mom, she's literally been in Thailand, which is where my parents live now. That's a whole story, but they live in Thailand, and my mom has not left the country since March. And, so when you're a musician and a performer, the fact that, and I know you're similar that, since you were a teenager, you're early, you've been basically on the road, right? Or early 20s. So it must be a weird change of pace for you.
It is totally strange. I do, getting to spend the time with my, hang on a second. Oh, I just scared him. With my little baby has just been like,
oh my God,
has been the best.
Cute. What's his name?
His name's Toby, and he's getting a little bit older.
Well, actually, I feel like I've heard of Toby before. I knew you had a Toby, but I remember his name. So cute.
He's a sweet boy, and he just turned 13 this month. So
13.
He's a little senior dog. So we've gotten to spend a lot of time with each other, and that's been awesome. But it's very strange, to not be running around. But at the same time, like I love getting to, read and just to spend time with the dog and just like take time doing other things. It's funny. It's like I've been working on a musical with Elton John for like 6 years. And we, in July, we just finished, we finished the score, I think. Like,
is this the Tammy Wynette? Is that
Tammy Faye Baker?
Tammy Faye. That's embarrassing. My apologies.
No.
I'm getting my Tammys confused.
No worries. But we finished the score in July, and I'm just thrilled that like that was just a big milestone for me. We've been working on it for such a long time, and then to finally really feel like the score is done, wrote a handful of new songs and switched stuff out, and it really just feels like this. It feels like a complete score now.
You know how I know about that? David Furnish actually did one of my one of these interviews back in like the beginning, back in April, I think, and he was talking about it. And then weirdly enough, I guess pastor who had AIDS, who Tammy did the interview with,
yes,
he reached out to me via email and asked if I would put him in touch with David, and I did.
Amazing.
I gave David his information. So anyway, by the way, I do know the difference between Tammy Wynette and Tammy Faye Baker. My brain is a little, I haven't had my coffee yet, so, but it's an amazing story. It sounds like it'll be great.
it's a great story. I'm so happy that we've got, we are where we are with it. But it's been interesting. I mean, just think about it, and this is why I'm kind of connecting the two. But just think about it, like with him. Think about it with like someone like Elton. It's like, yeah, like I've run around, like that man has like never stopped. He's never stopped running. He's never stopped touring. He's never stopped. And so like I think about, and we FaceTime sometimes, and like he's been like he's just been hanging out now for like the better part of a year. And like I think like it just blows my mind. Like he's never, like someone like that is like never had the experience of just like
Yep.
standing still for that long. As far as like a performer, like I just know no one who goes as fast as he does.
Yep.
Um, so I don't know. I just think I think about it all the time. Like, wow, what must it be like to really just completely, be stationed in one spot? But there's pros and cons, of course.
Totally. And I mean, it must be kind of an interesting reflection period. I mean, I was, obviously I already knew a lot about you, but I was reading about your book and I was thinking, how crazy it is that next year will be the 20th anniversary of Scissor Sisters. Is that right?
Next year will be the 20th anniversary of our first performance. Yeah,
That's
which is
just
just
crazy.
it's so weird. It just doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't seem that long ago, but then it seems like another lifetime ago. So I don't,
Mhm.
you know, I,
Yep.
I don't know. It's just very, it's very strange. And I think about it a lot. I've got these like, sort of Scissor Sisters like posters and stuff up in my studio, and there's like these artworks, and I kind of like, I think back on it fondly, but it's so crazy that it was that long ago.
Well, and not it's amazing because I actually remember. I mean, a lot of people do, but I remember I was 12, and I remember being on the school bus in France and hearing your first album on the radio, and like, I mean, of course, it was huge in the States, but like, I lived in France where, you know, I mean, you guys, not only were you guys gigantic or were huge, but for me as a gay kid who was still like, he hadn't come out yet, I immediately, I just knew. I was like, okay, even if you couldn't exactly put a finger on it, like you just knew that it was speaking to me. And I was thinking, I thought of you because of this whole Harry Styles, controversy with, him being on the cover, wearing the dress. And I was thinking, of course, it's great that he did that. And, I think he deserves credit for like pushing boundaries, but you guys were doing it 2 decades ago. And I think like, have you reflected on like, have you reflected on how boundary breaking you guys were? And like, was it like something that you were really conscious of or worried about, or like, what was that whole sort of period like?
Um, I do think about, I mean, I had such a wild tongue. I would just say whatever the fuck I wanted to say at any given time. I mean, it was crazy. I look back at like old interviews and stuff, and like I would just like too much information. I would totally just like talk shit about like whatever. And I was just really like I had a big mouth on me. And I think it was almost easier in a way than it would be now, because it's like the repercussions weren't as far as like, it was just things would come out in the press, and then there'd be more press maybe about that press or whatever, but it wasn't like, it was just such a different time technologically than where we were now. So in certain ways, like I felt like I could kind of get off a little bit like scot-free with being as like wild as I was, and saying the things that I was saying. Like I didn't necessarily feel any direct any direct repercussions from that. But I don't know. It's fun. Like I just, when we were doing it and when we were starting out, it was just I always have this sort of drive to just be as entertaining as possible if I'm like up in front of people and if I'm on stage. And like, I just had some memories pop up on my phone the other day that was like, this is where you were 2 years ago. And I was on stage like in a vajazzled like leotard and like fishnets and a hat and like literally wearing like just just wearing the kitchen sink. And I was looking at it being like, what was I doing? Like, what was I doing? I'm that insecure about boring people that I literally have to like weigh myself down with like, I do have like an insecurity on stage. I was just watching this documentary on Linda Ronstadt the other day that HBO did. It was
Hmm.
fantastic. And, she's just an icon and an incredible singer. And there's just all this performance footage of her, and she's on stage and she's just standing still and she's singing. I can't imagine. I watch performers like that and I'm just like, I would be going out of my mind. I would be so nervous. I mean, I am constantly have to be moving. I've got to be wearing, I've got to be pulling, I've got to be, hanging off of things, doing backflips, just whatever. Just because I get, I'm like my mom. Like I'm afraid of like pregnant silences. Like I'm afraid of any sort of silence. I definitely like I fill in all the space.
That's a good way of putting it. You fill in the space, you fill in the silence. Yeah, no, but you know what? I mean, look, obviously every performer is different. I mean, like Elton, obviously, he's one of the most talented musicians of all time, and he, wears ridiculous outfits and is super flamboyant. So, I mean, I think, it's funny. Like, I think Madonna is actually sort of an interesting example of like someone where, I say this, don't get me wrong, I love Madonna, but in her case, I would say maybe her voice isn't the most amazing or distinctive, but because she's such a great performer, she sort of, performance is a big part of her sort of thing. And I think, and that whereas other people just sit there or with a microphone, and so everybody has their own style. I would say you have both. So
I got a question. Do you miss that voice? That Madonna voice, because when I'm in a drugstore and I hear "Express Yourself,"
yeah,
and uh, this is not a critique at all. This is actually I'm saying, she's not hitting those notes. Like she's
no,
really not like she's in between notes. And it sounds so good to me.
right.
And Madonna's always the artist that when I hear her, like when I hear older songs pre-auto-tune,
Right.
it's just such a different sound.
Yeah.
And now our ears aren't quite used to it. But I miss that. I miss that voice. And I miss those blue notes that people sing.
Totally. Well, I mean, and not to bring up my mom yet again, but it was funny. It reminds me of when I brought a friend of mine to a show of hers a few years ago, and he's 5 years younger than me, so he didn't really know about her music. And as we're sitting there waiting at I think it was at the Greek for the show to begin, it was the Go-Go, so it was like obviously drums, guitars, like very like that's their pre-auto-tune era. My friend says to me, so they're going to be like smoke machines and backup dancers. And I'm like, it's not like that at all. It's like back when, all you had was a microphone and instruments and, but I think both work, I mean, look, it's just a very different type of music. But I do miss that. I think music.
But someone like Boy George would not have.
True. I think you cut out for a minute. Oh.
Sorry about
there you go. You're back.
Somebody like Boy George wouldn't have even existed like in the auto-tune era.
True.
I mean that
True.
man sings entirely in those beautiful blue notes and stuff, and that's what's so wonderful about his voice. I don't know. I try not to auto-tune myself too bad. Sometimes I've got to, but it also sucks not singing for a year. I haven't been on stage for a year, so when I'm recording, I sound like hell. Like it's shocking.
I'm sure you don't sound. I'm sure you sound great, but no. I can imagine it's and then recording in the studio versus performing live must be is a totally different experience. I'm sure. But I wanted to ask you too about your book, which I loved. I love that I I love that you talk about sort of the journey and like so many of the, surreal experiences that you had along the way. I mean, the one about David Bowie is so incredible, and the story about David Bowie is so surreal. I mean, would you say that like he was one of your biggest influences? I mean, maybe really quickly you can tell the story about like what that was like, when he came
Yeah, no, he's my
into the
number
show.
one, and I mean, he's my you can like got my like box sets here. He's my favorite. And always will be. And I discovered his music at a very young age, and I was listening to a lot of his deeper music at a young age, and so he always, I just think he's, one of the greats. And yeah, I write about it in the book. He came to see Scissor Sisters play at Irving Plaza, and it wasn't one of my favorite shows. And I found out he was there afterwards and was physically sick. Like it was just you couldn't have delivered worse news to me. Like I was so upset. Um, and he wrote me an email a couple weeks later that was very cryptic, and it made me angry. Like it actually, like I couldn't handle it. I just like couldn't. I think back on it, and it was just too much for me to deal with.
Hmm.
Um, I wrote him a little note back, and that was it. That was it. But
I loved how like sort of like as you said, cryptic, but like his message was just like, hi there. I just wanted to say I came to your show and you were really good, DB.
it sounded good from where I was sitting. It
It,
sounded good from where I was sitting. Like, and I was
yeah,
just like, what does that mean?
right.
What does it mean? This is so like, why would you write this to me? I don't know I still don't know what it means. I've talked to multiple people that, Neil Tennant said to me, that's him saying, you'll never be me. Other people have said, like, no, he was like writing to tell you that he liked your show. And like, I have no idea.
And that's probably the way he meant it. He wanted it to be it's that was his whole. He was an enigma.
Something that we're literally sitting here talking about,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
almost
exactly.
20 years later, here we are, like, still talking about it. But
Unbelievable, unbelievable.
yeah, he'll always like be just my my number one. I've
Yeah,
got a little shrine to him in my house.
oh, that's I mean, and you do sort of embody so many of his qualities, and I think I mean, your book. Anyone who hasn't read the book, I really hope they buy it because it's a great read, and I think an inspiring and really entertaining. One thing I also wanted to ask you was in terms of like upcoming projects, have you thought about doing stage again? I mean, I know you did Bent, which is an incredible play and film as well, but and Kinky Boots. But are you doing or thinking about maybe doing more stage in the
I would
future?
love to. I would love to. I'm not a great actor, which I am fully well aware of. So it takes me, but so it takes me a lot of work. Like it really does take for me to like, and I take it super seriously, and it just takes me, twice the amount of work as I guess I don't know. It just takes me a lot of work to like get decent. So, but I love it. I love it. I love the challenge of it. I love getting good in something. I love the like, it's like it's like Tai Chi or something. It's like you've got these like this severe, set of limitations that's just like on rotation up to like twice a day, over and over and over again. Um, I'm crazy about it. I would do another show in a heartbeat. I would do another musical in a heartbeat. Um, but it would just like have to be the right one. I finally did my first movie. I was in Rocket Man. I
Oh,
did Benny and the Jets in a version of Rocket Man in a cut that from what I understand, went up into like the last week, and then I got cut entirely from the movie, which I was just absolutely devastated. But I can kind of laugh about it now. It was poor David Furnish is the one who had to call me. I said to him, I was like, and we've been friends for so long. I was like, David, God bless you. I was like, I know this wasn't an easy call to make, but so I would love to do another movie. I would love to like, because I loved being on set. I loved like that whole. It was so thrilling.
I'd
And
love to
that
see that. I'd love to see that scene. I'm sure it's amazing.
I've never watched it. I've never asked for the footage. Uh, but I'm going to. I'll be able to. I'll be able to someday, I think.
Well, when you do, please send me a link. I'd love to see
I
it.
can
I'm
I
sure
can
it's
never
epic.
watch myself. I'm not like I'm really like I get very oogie about like seeing myself on anything and like I don't know. It's but I'm sure there's a lot of performers that are like that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm sure. I mean, I can't wait to see the Tammy Faye Baker musical. And are there other things like right now that you're working on, or are you sort of just taking the minute, like waiting till things with COVID sort of,
I'm working
uh,
on it. There's another
correct?
musical that I'm working on. That's got a lot of the score written. Um, and then I've got, my album is like 2/3 just done.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I'm just finishing up the record, but the
Amazing.
album that it's gonna be so good. I'm really excited by it, and it's like just supremely different from the last record, and uh, it's a lot of fun. It's very yeah, it's super up tempo.
Oh, so good. I don't know if you saw. I did kind of embarrassing, but it was meant to be kind of fun. I'm a terrible dancer, but I did a video a couple of my posts ago on Instagram of me dancing to "Let's
I
Have a
just
Kiki."
I
Yeah,
just saw it.
and
I
obviously I
just
did it sort of in anticipation of our conversation. But I was like, I mean, oh my God, I'm such a fan, and I'm excited to hear that the new stuff is up tempo. So I'll be
yeah,
dancing. Trust me, I'll be dancing.
awesome,
And I'm
wicked.
so grateful to you for doing this.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for having me.
And please, like next time you're in LA, and obviously once all of everything sort of hopefully solved or figured out with this COVID thing, I'd love to see you.
Yeah, I
So,
would love to see you too. And I'm gonna be yeah, I'm hopefully gonna be back in LA this summer.
oh,
You
great.
know?
Okay. The
Yeah.
Go-Go's and my mom have some shows in LA, and assuming things work out, in I think in June and July. So if you're in town,
Wicked.
I know my mom
Oh,
would
I
love to
would
have you. So
love that. I would love to see her as well. I would love to see her
so
too.
so we'll make it work. All right.
Cool. All right. Thank you, Duke.
Have a good day.
Bye. Yeah, you too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.